BBC News with Sue Montgomery. A jury has found Donald Trump's former trade advisor, Peter Navarro, guilty on 2 counts of contempt of Congress for defying a subpoena to give evidence on the storming of the US Capitol in 2021. The charges carry a maximum penalty of 1 year in jail. Mr. Navarro had refused to testify to a congressional committee investigating the riot. A judge denied his assertion the information was protected by executive privilege. Speaking outside court, Mr. Navarro said the case had been politicised.
Sad day for America, not because they were guilty verdicts, because I can't come out and have an honest, decent conversation with the people of America. People of America, I want you to understand that this is the problem we have right here, this kind of divide in our country between the woke Marxist left and everybody else here. And this is nuts.
The military authorities in Mali say at least 64 people have been killed in an attack by Islamist militants on an army camp in the northeast of the country. Most were civilians. Julian Bedford reports.
There's been growing pressure on the military in Mali to act since one of the country's best-known cities, Timbuktu, came under an Islamist blockade late last month. They've subsequently carried out a string of air raids on jihadist targets, but have failed to drive back the rebels who seem to have drawn confidence from the junta's expulsion of French and UN peacekeepers. The UN has 2 bases close to Timbuktu and are in the process of handing them over to the Malian army and their new allies, Wagner mercenaries from Russia.
Police in London say there have been no confirmed sightings of a terror suspect who escaped from prison on Wednesday and that he may already have left the country. Officers leading the search said Daniel Khalifa, a former soldier in the British Army, was very resourceful and his military training could have helped him evade capture. He'd fled a London prison by strapping himself to the underside of a food delivery truck. The Metropolitan Police Counter-Terrorism Commander, Dominic Murphy, said a massive search was underway.
We keep an open mind about where Daniel Khalif might be. We are still focusing our efforts here in London. We have support from colleagues all around the country helping us to try and find him. There's 150 detectives and staff from Counter-Terrorism Command here in London, but many, many more from around the country and Border Force helping us.
The Italian government has delayed by a year a ban on high-emission diesel vehicles in Piedmont, one of the country's most polluted regions. The far-right-led administration said it wanted to avert a social and economic crisis. EU courts ruled in 2020 that Italy was in breach of the bloc's clean air regulations. BBC News. Microsoft says its researchers have found evidence that China has improved its ability to use automatically generated images and social media to influence the political process in the United States and other democratic countries. Microsoft said Chinese state-affiliated actors were using AI to mimic US voters and start online controversies on racial, economic and ideological topics. The UN says the world is failing women and girls and not meeting targets for equality. A report by UN Women found not enough progress was made towards ending discrimination and violence. Access to reproductive health was still a problem, and not enough women were taking part in political and economic decision-making. Sarah E. Hendricks from UN Women says there's a lack of will.
The world has ample resources to invest in gender equality. Problem lies more with our priorities, with our intentionality of investment priorities, and it's that really needs to change.
The American actor Danny Masterson has been sentenced to at least 30 years in prison for raping 2 women. Masterson, best known for his starring role in That 70s Show, had been convicted of the charges in May. Police in Italy have arrested more than 80 people in the latest crackdown targeting the Calabrian mafia, the 'Ndrangheta. More than 600 officers were involved in the nationwide operation against gangs involved in drug trafficking, fraud, extortion and other crimes. The highest administrative court in France has ruled that it is legal to ban school children from wearing the abaya, the traditional overgarment worn by some Muslim women. The State Council rejected an injunction sought by a Muslim group. French education is secular by law. BBC News.